Hey, it's Chris here with your fishing forecast for June 4th. Lots coming up this weekend. Looks to be a great one with lots of sun and warm temperatures. Trout looks to be great. Pike has still been going strong. We've got musky opening, and we've got lots of other species like carp, gar, and bowfin to target too. So lots to get to this weekend. Starting off with trout. Trout is going to be great this weekend. More stable weather. Last weekend we had some good trout fishing, but with a cold front that just rolled through and fish might have been a little sluggish. This weekend, much more stable. Looks to be a great time out there. We've talked about dry flies. This really is peak dry fly season. We've got a ton of different hatches, from isonychias to brown drakes to green drakes to stoneflies to caddis to sulfurs and foxes and all kinds of different bugs. Lots to look at. What we would be focusing on if you're on the Credit River, tail end of sulfurs, we've got gray foxes, which are a larger mayfly. You might see a few green drakes. We've had a few reports of them. They'll be sporadic, but always worth a look. And stoneflies. We're going to have stoneflies starting to come off here in the next week or two. They are a great fly to fish. They're big. You can prospect with them, cast them all about, and big fish will move to them. So very fun fish. Other than that, nymphing, as always, is going to work really well. We're getting into sort of warmer weather season, so don't be afraid to target heavier water, pocket water. Those fish, their metabolisms are going to be moving much more high gear now, so you're going to be able to fish for these things in heads of pools, in pocket water, as well as the pools that we're used to fishing, but don't neglect some of that shallower water. They'll nudge right up in there. There's a lot of food in that water for them to eat, so they're going to sit in that heavier current this time of year. Looking at pike, pike has been excellent to this point, looks to be continuing that way for a while now. What you're looking at for pike is less so the super shallow areas where they're going to be laid up post spawn, and more those first weed lines. So if you find those shallow bays, those creek mouths where those fish would have been spawning, a month and a half ago now, look a little deeper out to that sort of 10 to 15 foot zone of water. Try and find green weeds. If you can find that, you're going to do well. We definitely recommend sinking line this time of year, just to get down that 5 to 10 feet. Make sure you're keeping that fly in the zone. Something like a type 3 or a type 5 line is going to work really, really well for you. And then we've got musky openings, so related to pike, but a little bit of a different schedule to them. So musky, they spawn later in the season. This is the opening weekend, so we're talking early season tactics. Post-spawn, those fish are still going to be up fairly shallow usually. So usually you're talking about sort of weedy bays, shallow-ish water, sub 10 feet usually. And what's interesting about springtime for muskie is that a lot of the time we're not throwing huge flies for them. So where you hear about people talking about fishing 12 to 14 inch flies, we're much bigger fans early season of that sort of 6 to 8 inch range of flies. So something like this Jake's pike bait is a great bet. It's going to be much more resemblant of the smaller bait fish that you tend to find early in the season. And those fish, coming off a spawn, they're looking for quick, easy, bite-sized snacks. They don't need to bulk up, feed up for winter or anything. Generally speaking, those sort of mid-sized flies are going to produce really well for you in the early season. And then other stuff. So while you're out there for pike and muskie, don't neglect our other fish. So especially if you're up in Georgian Bay, you've got gar around. And if you're on any of the Kawarthas, inland Kamuskoka lakes, a lot of those systems have bowfin as well. So both sort of prehistoric dino fish, really fun to fish for. You can find these fish by going to the really warm water in the backs of shallow, mucky bays, and you'll find them in that really warm water. These are actually air-breathing fish. They can survive in water that other fish can't, so it's pretty neat. You go way back into the jungle and you can find these things. Flies for bowfin are typically sort of crayfish patterns, and flies for gar are small bait fish flies. You can fish for these things on 8 or 9 weight rods, same kind of gear that you're going to run for pike, and they make for a great time. So don't neglect those fish as well. If you want more tips on how to fish for them, come in and chat with us. We can direct you to the right spot. As always, if you need any assistance figuring out what to fish or where to go this weekend, get in touch. We'll be happy to help you out. We'll see you on the water.